Hello. In this video, I'll be discussing the following timeline tools features: display filtering and the cursor stack. Display filtering is a feature that allows you to limit the number of events that are displayed in the main grid here based on your choice of filter criteria. This could be filtering by name or by properties. The following properties are supported: media types, media size, media state, media effects, and user tags. Timeline Tools also allows you to check for multiple instances of the same or similar named media, and it will locate any occurrences of the annoying Vegas changed media bug. This is a lingering Vegas problem that randomly swaps the media assigned to an event with a different piece of media. Media name filtering can be combined with any of the other media type filters to further limit what you see in the grid. Next, we'll be covering the cursor stack. The cursor stack is a feature that allows you to mark locations on the Vegas timeline and assign optional labels to them. This feature can be accomplished already in Vegas using markers, but many times markers are used for other purposes, and adding lots of markers for the simple purpose of creating references to timeline locations can lead to a visually cluttered display. Let's look at some examples of Timeline Tools display filtering. First, we'll cover name filtering. Name filtering allows you to enter a filter that can either be matched by wildcards, exactly, or using regular expressions. Regular expressions are beyond the scope of what I'm going to cover in this tutorial, but if you want, you can press this button and it will bring up a website that will help you with understanding how regular expressions work. For this example, let's just take and look at some of the names of the media. Now, we have some media here that, for example, this one has 3 9s in it, this has 3 9s. So if I was to use a wildcard and say star 999 star, and then press enter, and I use the match filter, then you can see that those two pieces of media are all that show up in the timeline because they're the only ones that have 3 9s somewhere in the name. If I turn this off, I go back to the full display. Here we can see that there are 61 items in the table, and if I match this, there are 2 items that are matched. So this way I can limit the number of items that I see in the display, and it just so happens that these 2 events are contiguous, event number 4 and number 5. So this is name filtering. Now, if I go over here to media type filtering, there are different types that we can see. In this one here, I'm saying show all. That means display all of the events that are on the timeline. If I was to say show duplicate media name refs, what this would do, since we don't have any, I don't see any here, this displays files with the same name but from different file locations. So for example, if I had a piece of media called ABC and it came from one directory, and I had another piece of media named ABC from a different directory, it would show those 2 pieces of media in here. Now if I say show duplicate media path refs, again, we don't have duplicate pieces of media. What this does is that it shows if you have the same piece of media in your timeline more than one location. Okay, we have display missing media events. This would be if we have events down here in the timeline that do not appear because they're missing from their original path locations. And this will show those events that contain missing media. If I say show misnamed takes in media, This is the option that will allow you to find any occurrences of the Sony Vegas changed media bug, where somehow a piece of media is assigned to an event that wasn't supposed to be there. We have show generated media. This would show if we have anything on the timeline such as Vegas text or test patterns or things of that nature. Then we have show selected media. Selected media, if I come down here to the timeline and I click on this, we can see that this event down here is selected and it shows up here as being selected. If I go back to show all, I can see that that one is selected. If I should highlight these three and then say select those, and then I say show selected media, only those three, events 0, 2, and 4, would show up here in the grid. So let's just click on him, select him. And then we have show locked media. We don't have any media that locked. These are states that you can assign through the Vegas event properties. Show media with plugins. Okay. Now, when I select this, you can see here, now there's only 49 items shown in here, and we don't see any plugins. That's because this option, or this media type, allows you to have an optional text entry where you can put a plugin name. So since we don't have anything here, it's showing events that don't have any plugins. Essentially, we're matching no names. Now, if I was to type in here Sony, Sony, and I need to put stars because it's a wild card. There we can see all of the plugins that I have are coming from the Sony plugins, so they all have the word Sony in them. So in this case, I'm saying match any plugin that has the word Sony in it, and here we see the list showing all the Sony plugins. So now we only have 12 items displayed. Again, if we have nothing here, I clear that, and we're matching events that don't have any plugins. Now, show wide media. Okay, now we have 56 items in here. Wide media is defined as media that has a greater width than height. And if we look in the size column here, we could see that these events all have a greater width than height. If I say show narrow media, we only have 4 items, and these are events that have media with a greater height than width. You can see that in here. Now, if I select square media, this is media, as you can see, whose width and height are the same. We also have an option to show small media. In this case, we don't have any small media. Small media is defined as events that have a media size, both width and height, that is smaller than the project size. And the project size is defined by what your current settings are. In this case, this would be a standard NTSC DVD, so the project size is 720 by 480. And I don't have any media where the width and height is smaller than that, so we don't see anything here. And then show media that fits. Media that fits is media that has one of its dimensions, either width or height, that is equal to or less than the project size. So now here we have this piece of media that has a width of 720, which is the width of the project size, so we see that. This piece of media has a height that is less than the project size, so we see that. Then we have show large media. Large media is media that has both a width and a height that is larger than the project dimensions. Filter by size expression. Okay, again, this is another selection where you can put in an optional field. Now, when this is blank, we don't have an expression, so we don't see anything here. But if I hover my mouse over this, we can see these are some of the expressions, and you can support constants that are in here. So I could say I want to see media where the width is greater than 1200, and then these are all pieces of media where the width is greater than 1200, or I could change this to say width is greater than project width. And then here we could see, now we got 60 items in here, and these are all greater than the project width, which is 720 pixels. And finally, we have filter by media tags. Now, media tags are things that you can assign in this column, and you can assign these by saying edit project media tags, and you can assign a tag. Now, I have a few tags assigned here already, and if I start to type, what I do is I get a list of pop-ups that match the tags that are already assigned. So if I say show P51, here's a P51 and here's the media tag for P51. And if I come back here and say P38, there's a picture of some P38s. So you can assign media tags and you can use it to filter those. So this is display filtering. Now, the cursor stack. The cursor stack is something that we can assign positions on the timeline that are of interest to us. So say, for example, I'm coming through and looking at my media down here, and I see something I like. Here's a picture of a P38 Lightning. What I can do is I could click here and say add cursor position to the timeline. But let's say I want to add something else to it. I want to add a label. So I can say P38 Lightning and then add that to the cursor stack. Now here we see the Vegas timeline position is now saved in this cursor stack. And then if I come down to here, I could say P51 Mustang, and I could add that to the cursor stack. And now I have the Lightning and I have the Mustang positions saved in the stack. Now the contents of the cursor stack are saved with the project. So each project can have its own set of cursor stack locations saved with it. And the number of positions you can put in here is almost endless. There's really no limit to it other than how many you want to have in there and how cluttered it may get. So this is the cursor stack and display filtering. See you next time.